Hello and welcome. It is the 6th day of March 2021, and I'm going to do a video regarding SLV. This is the fund up here, $23.36. And a couple things I want to talk about. Number one, if you take the price of silver and you divide it by this, it's a much different price because silver is 25 and change. So it's like a $2 differential, close to 10%, like 8%. It never always was that way. When silver back in, well, right now it's 23 and a third. But if we go to 2011 and go to November of 2011 in particular, there's a 2-day run where it didn't do much. We're right in here. November 16th, it closes $24.93. It is down 1.6 almost, which is more than 5, which is like more than 5%. It's 1% differential with the real price. The real price of silver is down about 1% in that point. So what does that tell me? That it's grindingly just takes little bits and pieces here and there. Each week, each month, just a little bit more. But one thing I covered a long time ago, 10 years ago, silver log, March 1st, 2011. That's over 10 years ago now. A little under 10 years ago for some like May. 2 different markets and such. And what we're going to take a look at is how silver does during the day and during nighttime. I've updated data from a spreadsheet. This says 2021, but it's not. This says 2006, and it is. It's just how when I copy to paste the data, it's how we did it. And we got the close, we got the open, we got the high, we got the low. And this is just a counter. I don't even need this number anymore. This is the, well, that's the number they gave me. But I put in these little numbers in here, after hours and during hours. So during hours, I start off at 1. And I got this in here, which is C4 subtract D4 divided by D4. So the close subtract the open. And then we divide it again by what your opening price was, which is $13.92. So in a situation here, you got in at $13.92. If you were to day trade this, buy it at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. And then down 5 cents for the day, so you sell for a small loss. And it's a small loss. As you can see in here, 0.35%. And your value go from 1 unit to 0.9964. It's a very simple way of calculating. And the after hours is taking, well, assuming whatever the close is at the end of the day you're to buy, and then you sell it at 9:30 the next morning, how you'd be doing. So I'm going to go through these stats. It's always going to be under the assumption in this case that these close and open prices are what you're going to be getting. So you're not going to be buying at $13.93 or $13.94. And you're not going to be selling this at $13.86 with any kind of spread. No fees of like whatever of trades, because that would make things even worse if you were to do things like this. But what I came to the conclusion was back then is that markets didn't do so well. So let me take you to 2011, where I was doing these videos, March of 2011, because I was stating in here that it was just lost the day. It lost half its value. And it was up 4.6 times higher off hours. Lost half its value during the day. 4.68. Well, this number is higher and this number is lower today. There's your spoiler. Let's scroll down. I got charts even ready to go as well. Yeah, see here we got 0.22 and 4.3, but it gets higher than 4.3. 0.26, there you go, 6.8. And now it's at 7.16. So since SLV is opened, the price, if you were to only buy at the end of the close, sell at the open, never pay any fees, always get that price that's in this. I got investing.com is where I got the data from, but these numbers here, you'd be up 7.16. But now, before it was losing half your value, well, it's done it again. It's lost over 3/4 of its value. It's at 0.234. So if we look at this first chart, this is silver during the day. And so it came down to here and then it's stopped. I mean, this was a huge decline they did in here during these rows in here. Then you had this little bit of spot where it went up and it's been nothing but going down ever since. Now 0.5, of course, was the number, which was somewhere in here for 2011. And well, 2006 be 1/3 of the way through the chart. And it's just, managed to keep going down lower and lower. And now we're going to take a look at the chart since, well, only doing the opposite. And it's had some volatility along the way, because from rows like 1300 down to like 2500 or so, it went from 6 down to over 2, losing well more than half its value just from point A to point B. And then it has been nothing but going higher highs and higher lows since. However, it's been in an interesting run since this low. And I know I don't get dates in here, but when I see this, what I look at is, okay, when did this happen? And I looked at my data at middle of March of 2020, which is when the whole situation of events changed. And throughout this time, around since row 3500, it's been seeing the price at the off hours time frames going higher. Since row 3500 here, it had a little bit of run up here, but when was I don't even know when this date was. I'm going to find this out, because what I see here is like what happened from point low to point high. So what I look at is okay, the low is 0.2. So I'm looking at, and the high here is 0.4 on the line. But now, of course, one way of fixing that is just go to the data range. And I know 3,500 was the number I'm looking at. It's not even much below before that. I don't think I can go 3,000 anyway. Okay, the lowest scaling is 0.2. I guess I got to change that. So what I'm looking at is when did this happen and when did the other up move happen? And I could just look at prices and see that the low end was like point over 2. And this one was a nice break above 30. It's 0.3 here. So when was it last 0.3? That's when this whole thing stopped, where they just could say they were pushing the market down, probably after the market high for silver. And then this here, which is around 0.21 even. So let's now try to find the numbers on here. No, I haven't. Okay, so 0.21, where's that? And then well, there's a 0.32 area here. That would take us to first, second week of August. And before that, we're probably looking at like March, April. Yeah, that's no surprise. And then with this chart, back to the normal charts, this is actual silver price. So here we have on like September the 21st. I want to take a look at that day in particular. And this is where the ratio was. See, this is days after it was at like already 0.28. They were bringing this down. Even August 31st was at a high. So August 31st, yeah. Well, there's a little bit of a bring down right in here. But within this period, we can see how the price of silver has been going higher highs and higher lows. So most of these moves would just be occurring. I'm just going to just pick a random period of time and I haven't done anything like this yet, just to see how it goes and just so we can see what happens from 1600 hours. Like if you were to say go long here, and then you'd be going 1600 to 9 a.m. So there's a spot where it's like pretty much break even. Then just on, how about this day? When did this happen? 20 hours. So you figure this thing closed at like 25.80, but then it opened. I mean, you would have had to get this type of a price in here. Look at the volatility that particular day. When did this majority of this run happen? This happened during the U.S. time at 9 o'clock, and so there was one of the days where it would have went up. Then during this big run up, this was like consistently going up from 2 o'clock in the morning to like 1 p.m. on this spot, and it had a run up at 9 a.m. and a down move at 9 p.m. What was this big move at? I mean, all the moves I'm showing you are down moves in the off hours and up moves during this time hours, at least during this time frame. But the stats has already shown that long term and nothing stopping it now and nothing changing the short term trend. That, as you can see here, well, this is the market going down during the day. That a lot of it is in New York Times, and this will be where, if you can get the data for this, maybe you could come to even larger calculations on 2 times. Meaning, instead of starting at 9:30, if you were to start at 7:30, 8, maybe you close at 11 a.m. or 2 p.m. And when you're looking to find trends, that's really where you should be thinking, in the sense of, I want to get the best looking number that I can to make it look the most outrageous if you're trying to do it. But you're trying to find the most exact situation again when, like, is it normal like at 7:30, 7:45 for these major crashes to come by, where if you were to count from 7 o'clock, maybe it would be losing 18, or maybe it'd have only 10-15% of its value since 2006. Being more precise, it's just so much easier for me to have the data that I have, and I used to have good hourly data for silver, and I could probably find ways of getting some, but it's something to just something to point out. Thank you for tuning in. Bye bye.